Welcome. This is the 5th video in our sequence about histograms. And in this video, we're going to talk about how to build a histogram when the values that you're recording about your sample are not numerical. So our example is going to be about this behavioral risk surveillance system factor or something. It's this big survey that the CDC does, and in our case, we're just looking at one question. And the question is how you view your own health, how you view your health in general. And they couldn't just write down anything. They had to select from one of these 5 options. And so from the table, we can see, first off, that we have 20,000 respondents. And then, to look at an individual number, 6,972 of them responded that they were very good. And we have here, that's frequency. We also have relative frequency. So we know that where this is coming from is the 3486 is coming from the fraction 6,972 out of 20,000. And so similarly, you can build that fraction the frequency out of the total and get these relative frequencies. So let's follow along with the questions. The type of variable is not numerical because poor, fair, good, very good, and excellent are not numbers. We might call it categorical or qualitative instead of quantitative. So what proportions of respondents reported very good health? This is the same as relative frequency, 0.2838. And again, this number is coming from looking in the good column, saying 5,675 of us reported that we were in good health, and that's a fraction of 20,000. Proportions are distinct from percents, but if you wanted to write this as a percent, you could just move the proportion over 2 decimal places, but this is the proportion. Okay, now we asked about people's who are responding poor or excellent, and we're asking about proportions. And so if you are in poor or excellent health, then you're one of 670 people who responded that they were in poor health, or one of 4,657 people who responded that they were in excellent health. And so if we bring our calculator in, that's how many, 5,334 is how many people responded as either with poor health or excellent health. And as a fraction, as a decimal, it's 0.2667. And what I wanted to note here is that that's how you could do that calculation, or you could that's one way to do the calculations, or you could take the proportions themselves that were already calculated in the table and add them together. And either way would have been fine. 0.334. Those will come out to be the same, or near about the same, maybe with some slight rounding errors. What proportion of respondents are in fair and good health? And the emphasis here is on the word and. You can't respond and you can't choose 2. Just like you can't have two different bins for our scores. So if we were thinking about heights of people and we had broken people up into bins based on half a foot, you couldn't be in the 4.5 to 5 feet and the 5.5. You couldn't be in the 4.5 to 5 feet and the 5 to 5.5 feet. You can't choose 2 answers. So this proportion is 0. 0 or 0% of the people chose both fair and good health. And then finally, let's produce a visual graphic of this. Let's actually drag that table back down so we don't have to keep scrolling. Oops. Let's copy. Paste. Okay. And let's move this a little bit more out of the way. So, on the horizontal still goes the variable. So, like health. We're going to produce histograms, both a relative frequency and just a frequency histogram. And so we have poor, fair, good, very good, and excellent. On the vertical, let's count frequency. And we need to count up to, the biggest value we have is almost 7,000. So let's give us some extra room at 10,000. And 10,000. And then the ticket is to just make a bar that's as high as the frequency. So it's the same strategy. So if that's about 1,000, that's about 500. So 6,777 is probably around here. Fair is 2,019. This is more than 2,000. And note, there's not really an issue with people on the borderline because you had to choose one or the other. Good is 5,675. See, that's about 5,000. That means right around here. Oh, I didn't know about that. 6,972 is just below 7,000. And 4,657 will be about here. And so here's a histogram that gives you a good visual for how people respond to the question, how do you report your health? Over on the right-hand side, we'll do relative frequency. And we can use our table at the bottom to help us choose what should be our highest value as far as the vertical axis. But first, we should fill out a horizontal. And just like we gave ourselves some extra room on the frequency, we can give ourselves all the way up to 0.5. The poor is at 0.03, poor health. So it's about a third of the way up. So it'll be about right there. Fair is at 0.101, so just above 0.1. The regular type good is 0.2838, so there's about 2.5. So 2.8 is maybe right around there. 3.486 is the proportion of people who are reporting their health as very good, so just below the halfway point there. And finally, just under a quarter of people, so 0.23, about there. And what you should make note of is this chart on the right looks exactly the same as the chart on the left. All we've changed is the vertical scale, and all we've done is reinterpret total frequency in terms of relative frequency. So one thing you can note is that at the top was 0.5, and that was the same as 10,000 because there were 20,000 people in the sample. 50%, or with the proportion of 0.5, is equal to 10,000. Alright, that's it for this video. See you in the next one.